The gold rush no one talks about. At just 34 years old, Ibrahim Traoré has shaken the foundations of West Africa. After leading a swift military takeover that ousted former President Paul-Henri Damiba, he's now the self-declared leader of Burkina Faso, and he's not alone. Today marks a historic moment. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have officially cut ties with ECOWAS. The West African regional bloc, they say, no longer serves their people. What began as a reaction to suspension after a wave of military coups has now evolved into a full-blown rejection of the old system. But beneath the politics lies a much deeper story, one the world has ignored for far too long. For decades, Burkina Faso was written off, a nation of poverty, a mean of hardship, a forgotten corner in global rankings. But the truth? That narrative is being rewritten, because hidden beneath the dust and desperation is a land pulsing with untapped power, gold, pride, and people who refuse to surrender. Enter Ibrahim Traoré, a bold, unshakable young captain who dared to look beyond despair. Under his leadership, $18 billion in buried resources have been reclaimed, wealth that could finally transform a nation once chained by foreign contracts and corrupt elites. The first villains from a self-styled Burkina Faso, known as the land of upright people, carries a legacy of resistance and integrity, but it also holds a cruel paradox, a land drenched in gold yet crushed by poverty. With over 60 operational gold mines and hundreds of artisanal sites, Burkina Faso ranks among Africa's top gold producers. You'd think its people would prosper, but for years, the gleam of gold never reached their hands. Instead, it vanished into foreign vaults. Through backdoor deals, exploitative mining contracts, and systems rigged to keep the nation resource-rich, but people poor. The numbers are staggering, the injustice unforgivable. Yet now, the tide is turning, and a new leader has stepped in, not just to manage a nation, but to awaken a revolution. From exploited soil to sovereign gold. The rise of Ibrahim Traoré. For decades, Burkina Faso's gold glistened, but never for its people. While foreign companies extracted billions from its earth, villages were left in the dust. Forests were flattened, rivers turned toxic, and entire communities were uprooted in the name of economic progress that never came. The profits? Shipped overseas. The cost? Paid by the poor. The country's riches fueled foreign economies and lined the pockets of local elites, while everyday Burkinabe citizens faced pollution, poverty, and broken promises. But in 2022, the story changed. A little-known artillery officer named Ibrahim Traoré, just 34 years old, emerged from a dusty northern town and rewrote history. In a bold military coup, he overthrew Paul-Henri Damiba, a fellow soldier who had seized power just months prior. Crowds filled the streets, not in protest but in celebration. And from that moment, Traoré made his vision clear. Our gold will no longer enrich strangers, it will build our nation. This was more than a power grab, it was a revolution in thinking. Where previous regimes bowed to corporate interests, Traoré dared to confront them. One of his first moves? Audit every mining contract, expose the deals hidden in shadows, revoke dozens of licenses held by foreign giants. And he didn't stop there. New policies demanded that a significant share of gold revenue stay in country, redirected toward schools, hospitals, roads, and real development. The kind that reaches the people, not just the headlines. In a fiery address that echoed across Africa, Traoré said, "We cannot protect our people if we do not first protect our wealth." Those words hit like a thunderclap. Across Burkina Faso and beyond, a new belief was rising. That sovereignty is more than flags and borders. It's about owning what lies beneath your feet. Traoré's message was clear. Burkina Faso would no longer beg for aid while sitting on treasure. It would build power from within, using its own hands, its own gold, and its own destiny. $18 billion, the number that changed everything. What started as a bold promise has now become a staggering reality. Under Ibrahim Traoré's sweeping reforms, Burkina Faso's gold industry has exploded, generating an estimated $18 billion in record time. Even skeptics are pausing. While critics claim the numbers may be inflated, independent reports and surging export data tell a different story. Burkina Faso is rising, fast. But this isn't just about raw numbers. It's about transformation. Rural villages now see electric light for the first time. Healthcare systems are being rebuilt. Schools are being restored. Roads are cutting through long isolated regions, connecting farmers to opportunity. And perhaps most boldly, Traoré is using this wealth to pay off the nation's debt, without begging from the IMF or World Bank. No conditions, no foreign control, just Burkinabe hands shaping Burkinabe destiny. That move alone sent shockwaves through global finance circles. Western institutions and watchdogs sounded the alarm, warning of lack of transparency and rising authoritarianism. But Traoré didn't flinch. Instead of bending, he built new alliances with Russia, Turkey, and China. Partners who trade respect for resources, not control for contracts. This isn't just diplomacy, it's a strategic firewall against neo-colonial strings. Of course, not all is smooth. Sabotage, insurgent attacks, and entrenched corruption remain real threats. But the will of the people? Unshaken. Walk the streets of Ouagadougou and you'll feel it. A pulse, a momentum, a belief. Youths chant slogans of independence. Farmers now reach markets with ease. Families have access to doctors and clean water. The gold once stolen now funds their future. And at the heart of it all stands Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a man hailed by many as a modern-day Thomas Sankara, reviving the dream of an Africa that governs itself, defends itself, and feeds its people with its own hands. For millions, this isn't just economic policy, it's a revolution, a message to the world. Africa's wealth belongs to Africans, not their exploiters. And yet the road ahead is treacherous. Hidden enemies lurk in shadows. Old power brokers want their cut back. And the forces of neo-colonialism are regrouping. But for the first time in generations, Burkina Faso is fighting from a place of strength. And the people, battered but unbroken, have found something priceless: hope. The world is watching, and Africa is rising. As Burkina Faso steps boldly into this new era of economic sovereignty, the challenges are clear. The nation must build strong institutions, ensure transparency, and unite its people. But what's happening under Ibrahim Traoré isn't just governance. It's resistance made real. This is a story of defiance, of a country refusing to be boxed into the fate written for it by outside forces. It's the story of a people who said, "We are not poor, we've been plundered." Traoré's Burkina Faso is proving that resource wealth, when reclaimed and responsibly managed, can rewrite the future. And they're not alone anymore. Across Africa, the winds are shifting. Niger, Mali, Guinea, Chad. Countries long labeled as unstable are beginning to challenge the system, just like Burkina Faso has. Their message is deafening. Africa is not dependent. Africa has been deceived. Now that deception is unraveling. With gold funding the movement, literally and symbolically, the Alliance of Sahel States, AES, is becoming a political and economic revolution in real time. More than just a break from ECOWAS, the AES represents a continental reawakening, a mutual defense pact, an economic confederation, a declaration that Africa can protect, trade, and govern on its own terms. While ECOWAS tries to maintain the illusion of unity, the people on the ground are speaking louder. Tens of thousands rally in their capitals, waving AES flags and chanting for independence, for dignity, for a rebirth. And through it all, the world watches, stunned. Because $18 billion is no longer just a number. It's proof that when a nation stands tall, reclaims its wealth, and invests in its people, the impossible becomes reality. Traoré's bold vision may be a gamble, but it's one built on hope, strategy, and unshakable resolve. And if the numbers hold, if the people continue to rise, then Burkina Faso will not just change itself, it will inspire a continent. Africa's story is not poverty, it's power waiting to be reclaimed. As the golden light spreads across the Sahel, one truth becomes undeniable. This is no longer about one country. It's about Africa finding its voice and refusing to whisper ever again. The revolution has already begun. The world is watching. And history is being written, not in boardrooms but on African soil, by African hands.